Hi everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about a topic that carries a lot of importance. Can you learn to speak English fluently in just 5 months? Spoiler alert. You absolutely can, and over the course of this detailed discussion, I'll show you precisely how to achieve it step by step. By the end, you'll know exactly what fluency signifies, how to reach it, and how to optimize both your overall study time and the focus of your daily practice. We'll also bust a few common myths that might have been holding you back and dissect the most efficient techniques to help you thrive on this journey. Let's begin by asking, what does it mean to be fluent in a language? A lot of people have the mistaken idea that being fluent means speaking perfectly, on par with a native speaker. In reality, that's not what fluency is about. You don't need to pronounce every word faultlessly or construct every sentence with no mistakes. Fluency means you can communicate in a way that feels smooth and natural. Envision a steady flow of water in a river. There aren't frequent hiccups, and it keeps going without abrupt stops. That's what fluency resembles when speaking English. You may occasionally pause for thought or stumble over a word, but you won't constantly interrupt yourself to figure out grammar or vocabulary. When you're fluent, you can confidently share your thoughts and convey what you mean with ease. You won't need every word in the dictionary, and minor slip-ups in pronunciation or sentence structure won't prevent you from being understood. Your goal is genuine communication rather than unattainable perfection. Once we clear up what fluency really is, the next big question arises. Can you actually acquire that level of skill in 5 months? Yes, you can, provided you dedicate yourself with intention and remain consistent. In language learning, simply marking time on a calendar won't make you progress. You have to maximize how you use your study windows. Someone who studies for 2 hours daily and really applies themselves can advance exponentially faster than someone who only haphazardly picks up English every week or two. So, how can you organize yourself to see real results in just 5 months? The key lies in balancing the quantity of your study with its quality. In terms of quantity, you'll probably want to aim for around 600 hours of practice over those 5 months. That works out to about 20 hours a week, or roughly 3 to 4 hours per day. Hearing that might seem overwhelming, but it doesn't mean endless grammar exercises in a single sitting. Actually, doing nothing but grammar for 4 hours straight would likely exhaust and frustrate you. Instead, you can split your learning into more manageable segments throughout each day. Maybe an hour of listening to an English podcast in the morning while you eat breakfast, then half an hour during lunch reviewing vocabulary. Later in the day, you could watch an English series or a YouTube video. Finally, you could allocate another chunk of time to practice speaking, whether with friends, an online teacher, or even on your own, just talking aloud about your day. By spreading these short sessions throughout your usual schedule, you make it more comfortable to stay committed. Beyond the sheer amount of time spent, the caliber of your practice is critical. It's better to have an hour of engaged study than 4 hours of daydreaming while English audio plays in the background. So how can you ensure you're maximizing that time? First, practice actively. That means truly concentrating on the content you're studying. Notice how sentences are put together, how words are pronounced, and try to repeat key phrases out loud to get a feel for them. This kind of mindfulness makes your brain absorb English more effectively. Next, check that the content you're reading or listening to isn't too far above your current skill level. If you understand only 10% of what's being said, you'll likely get frustrated and zone out. Aim for around 80% comprehension, so you're pushing yourself without feeling totally lost. It's also vital to include as much speaking practice as you can. While reading and listening are essential to building your foundation, Actual conversation is the surest path to becoming conversationally fluid. If you don't have someone immediately available to talk with, try an online language exchange platform. You can also practice speaking to yourself. Yes, it might feel odd in the beginning, but it helps you develop comfort in voicing thoughts in English, which is one of the biggest psychological hurdles. A common myth is that you need a massive vocabulary of many thousands of words before you can hold a real conversation. Actually, in typical daily exchanges, we use a limited set of words and expressions. Mastering the most common 4,000 to 5,000 words often allows you to navigate regular interactions quite effortlessly. Think about casual talks regarding daily routines, interests, weather, or directions. These subjects don't usually require advanced academic terms. You want the vocabulary that you're going to rely on in most real-life conversations. Once you have a strong handle on these everyday words, adding more specialized vocabulary becomes much easier and more natural. Of all the skills you'll focus on, listening holds a particularly important place. By listening to native speakers or fluent speakers in English, you expose yourself to the language as it's organically used. You get to hear how words connect, how certain phrases shift in tone for emphasis, and how everyday English flows in different contexts. Listening alone doesn't automatically grant you speaking prowess, but it sets the stage. Your ear becomes acquainted with the intonation patterns and pacing of fluent speech, making it simpler for you to emulate those qualities when you speak. That said, passively listening in the background won't be as beneficial as listening with purpose. Pay attention, see how words are pronounced and how speakers convey emotion, and don't be afraid to pause the audio and try repeating lines yourself. This helps you nail the pronunciation better than simply letting the material roll by. Also, never underestimate how valuable it can be to speak even if you make errors. Making mistakes feels uncomfortable, but it is an integral part of getting better. Babies learn languages by making constant mistakes, repeatedly. Over time, they refine their speaking. As adult learners, the approach is the same. If you want to see progress, embrace your missteps as natural stepping stones. Repetition of new words and structures is absolutely key. If you see a word once, you might remember it briefly, but you'll probably forget it soon after if you don't revisit it multiple times in various contexts. This is called spaced repetition, and it works wonders. So each day, take a few moments to go over the vocabulary you studied recently. If you learn a new expression, try to use it several times in sentences that day, either out loud or in your writing. By returning to this vocabulary in consistent intervals, say the same day you learned it, then a couple of days later, then a week later, you help your brain store it in long-term memory. Immersing yourself in English as much as you can is another effective strategy. Some people think total immersion is only possible if you move to an English-speaking country, but that's not necessarily the case. You can create a form of immersion in your own home by shifting your phone and computer settings to English, watching your favorite TV shows or YouTube channels primarily in English, and labeling objects around your home. Even small steps, like making a habit of describing your cooking routine in English while you're in the kitchen, help your brain stay engaged with the language. The more you surround yourself with English, the faster it starts to feel like a natural part of your daily life instead of a separate subject you have to study. Don't neglect to interact with real people. Whether it's local meetup groups, online forums, or communities on social media platforms, speaking to other learners or native speakers is one of the best ways to boost both your confidence and your fluency. Chatting about everyday topics builds your ability to think on the spot in English. thus training your mind to switch gears more quickly when you need to find the right phrases or expressions. This consistent practice can substantially lessen any anxiety you may have about speaking. When you build your language skills, remember that real success depends on improving 4 areas: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Together, they reinforce each other. If you do a lot of reading, you pick up new vocabulary and patterns you might later recognize in a podcast. That recognition will help you speak more naturally. Writing helps you pay closer attention to grammar and structure, while speaking is where you bring everything together in live interaction. And listening expands your sense of the language's natural flow and teaches you to catch meaning from context, even if you don't understand every single word. Try creating a balanced study routine. Maybe first thing in the morning you listen to a podcast or an audiobook while getting ready, focusing on the conversation as much as possible. During lunch, spend some time reviewing new words with flashcards or an app. In the afternoon or evening, find a 45-minute slot to connect with a language partner for an informal chat or practice out loud on your own. Later, watch an English language show or movie, pausing occasionally to reflect on key phrases or replay particular lines. This way, your day remains broken into distinct chunks that keep you engaged without overwhelming you. As you make these a part of your lifestyle, you'll find that your mind adjusts to thinking in English more automatically, and learning becomes less of a chore. Staying motivated is often one of the trickiest parts of this process. You might feel a burst of excitement at the beginning, only to find it waning when you hit a plateau or stumble over grammar complexities. That's completely natural. What helps is setting smaller, immediate targets, such as learning a handful of new words daily or successfully discussing a specific topic in English with a friend. Each small win keeps your momentum alive. Tracking your progress is another trick. Keep a journal documenting what you studied each day, how you felt, and any new terms you acquired. Looking back after a month or two, you'll be amazed at how far you've come. When you reach these small goals, treat yourself to a little reward, maybe a snack you love or an episode of your favorite series. It also helps to keep in touch with other learners. If you can join a study group, either in person or online, you can share tips, celebrate each other's successes, and talk about challenges. The sense of community can make a huge difference in how eager you feel to keep going. Also, keep your eyes on the bigger purpose. Remind yourself frequently why you set out to become fluent in English. Are you seeking better job opportunities, hoping to travel with confidence, or maybe longing to connect with people worldwide? When you recall the meaningful reasons you're doing this, it becomes easier to push through the frustrations. Don't forget to enjoy the journey. Yes, you need structure and consistency, but learning a language doesn't have to be a dull drill. Watch entertaining content that appeals to you, explore topics that spark your curiosity, and practice with materials that make you smile or laugh. By associating English with pleasure, you'll naturally feel drawn to keep going. As you get closer to the 5-month mark, you'll likely notice that English is becoming an integral part of your daily thoughts, not just a subject. You might find yourself mentally describing your surroundings in English or subconsciously recalling phrases from earlier lessons. This transformation is exciting. It's evidence that your practice is truly taking hold. You'll also likely detect improvements in your listening comprehension, the confidence with which you speak, and even your ability to read simple articles with ease. Of course, some days you might feel like your progress has stalled, or you might notice the same mistakes popping up repeatedly. Don't let that discourage you. Language learning is rarely a linear journey. You'll have spikes of rapid advancement followed by moments that feel stagnant. The important thing is to keep practicing, reviewing older material occasionally, and trusting that, with repetition, the knowledge truly cements itself. Remember, making errors is part of the path to improvement. By focusing on consistent, purposeful practice, you can absolutely become fluent in English in a mere 5 months. It's an ambitious goal, but not an impossible one. Remember that what we're aiming for here is comfortable communication. It's not about reciting academic language or flawlessly understanding complex scientific literature. Over time, you can build on your foundation to explore more advanced fields if that interests you. But for now, the focus is on building enough skill to discuss everyday topics, comprehend media aimed at native speakers, and confidently handle routine interactions, whether traveling, talking with friends, or connecting with coworkers. As a final note, learning English or any language doesn't have a tidy endpoint. Even native speakers continue learning new words and expressions throughout their lives. The real milestone is when you reach a point where you can function smoothly and hold your own in typical social or professional settings. Once you're there, you can keep refining and expanding your skill set as much as you'd like. There's no rush to become the perfect speaker, because no one really is. The objective is to be able to relate your thoughts, understand others, and experience that satisfying sensation of flowing conversation in another language. So keep going. Speak as much as possible, listen actively, read interesting material, and write in English every day. Use spaced repetition, stay motivated by keeping track of your achievements, and immerse yourself in the language whenever you can. If you remain patient and determined, you'll realize significant progress far more quickly than you might think. The truly exciting part is that by doing this, you open doors to new cultures, friendships, and opportunities you might never have encountered otherwise. Good luck with your language journey, and remember, fluency is absolutely within your grasp. You've got all the tools you need. Now it's just a matter of persistence, focus, and letting go of that fear of making mistakes. Believe in yourself and celebrate each step forward. As long as you keep practicing thoughtfully and consistently, 5 months from now, you'll be amazed at your own transformation.